So having successfully negotiated a few corners, we bring the bike and ourselves arrive at the entry point to a new section. That new section is filled with performance cues, visual performance cues that are going to try and scream at us to make us look down. Chances are we'll bounce from, because of the number of different performance cues that are here, we're going to bounce our eye line from one to another, to another, to another. Our ride's going to be a jerky, stilted sensation of rather than a nice fluid ride going from one problem to the next, and as a result we're going to respond in a certain way to those threats. We don't want our ride to be a series of anxious moments stitched together with moments of happiness and relaxation. We want the whole ride to feel nice and relaxed and smooth. And again, just going back to that key point of looking through, not into, is really important. So as I come in here, I might scan through the section and pick up a few performance cues, but immediately I want to respond to them correctly by looking through. Yes, I'll have spotted them, which will enable me to start my decision-making process of how I'm going to approach them, but I want to be next, staying up the concentration ladder and thinking as far down the trail as possible, buying myself that crucial time. So at the moment, looking down into the trail and into the performance cues rather than through them, there's a lot there that might make me tighten up on the bike, hold my breath, and show a lot of the signs of flight and fight kicking into my riding, which are going to negatively affect my rhythm and flow. As I roll further down the trail, these moments are getting more intense. I'm getting less warning of everything. Obviously we're going at super slow-mo here, but what we'll find is that rather than focusing on the trail ahead, we're getting drawn into that trail. From a physical point of view, a lot more weight starts getting loaded on my hands as I drop my head and shoulders, and if I look over and down this step, it starts to look pretty damn scary. It looks bigger than it should be, it looks fiercer, and there's going to be more input. Added to which, my hands are really heavy at this point as my head and shoulders drop forward. Merely by lifting my head up and looking through, we can see how that affects my suspension and how it alters my body position and puts me back in the pocket. So when we've got an unsighted landing to a step, for instance, as we're rolling up towards it, drawing our head and shoulders forward starts to pull us out of the pocket, which is where we want to stay. Even if my head drops, gets sucked into looking at a performance cue just ahead of me as I approach, merely by bouncing my eyes up off that performance cue and then looking through and down and through the trail, we'll see how that actually positively affects my body position and puts me in a position to deal with the trail's energy that's about to be unleashed as I roll through the section. As I roll through here, I'm going to be looking down into this lip much longer than I should, but at the last minute I'm going to lift my head up, just to show you how positively picking that head up affects your body position when it comes to changes in gradient. Approaches this section looking down into the performance cue here. You're going to see the bike is a bit preloaded at the front, the suspension's a bit squashed and not going to be in a position to operate as effectively, and his body position is going to get drawn forward on the bike, pulling him out of the pocket. But even if Ian, as at the last ditch moment, lifts his head up, that's going to rotate his mass slightly backwards, his shoulders will go back, his head will lift, his wrists will drop and his heels will drop, and that will encourage the push through the section and put him back in the pocket, which is where he wants to be when it comes to dealing with input. By getting back in the pocket at the right time, purely by lifting the head up and promoting that strong position on the bike, Ian's in a position to drive energy through the bike, push through the bike, land and deal with the inputs that the trail is throwing at him. So as a last ditch attempt to get things right, lifting your head up late is better than not lifting it up at all. But this time watch Ian, the difference in the dynamics of what's going on as Ian looks through the section from the entry point. He's going to be set up early, ready, make his calculations early based on the information coming in, but by having his head up, he's going to be focusing further ahead of the bike all the time and give himself more time to be in the correct place. We should see a lot smoother riding over this little bump, and we should see a much stronger, more positive technique being applied. So purely by lifting that head up, we'll be more confident as we approach, we'll be more relaxed as we approach, we'll have more idea about where we're going next, that all-important place we want to be, which is not here but there, and we'll find that the riding becomes smoother and your body position is far better and more correct all through the section. In terms of linking, by lifting his head up early, Ian is able to link through into the next section, the corner, and prepare earlier for that and be ready to carry more speed through the corner. Rather than pushing problems down the trail and constantly his bike catching up to where he's looking, his eyes are going to stay ahead of the bike, and at times are going to be really far down the trail, looking through many sections at once. But here at least he can look through those two overlapping sections and deal with them more smoothly. So rather than being jerky and some last minute braking and some comfort braking, everything's going to be much smoother. So by looking through the peak of his helmet and keeping the peak in his eye line, that promotes keeping the eyes up. Even if the head's dropped slightly, the eyes raise and we can see further down the trail.